Good morning, welcome to Planet Mojo. This morning I'm going to give you a quick update on everything that's going on Planet Mojo here, and towards the end I'm going to head down to the Vineyard and show you what's going on there. This cat will not leave me alone, so I gotta keep petting her just a bit here and there. Yeah, she's kind of a sassy cat. She usually bites you when you pet her. Okay, the trees. These were the bare root bur oak trees that I planted last year. This one, I don't know if it's the bushiest or not. This one and the three right along our property line over there are the best, but I believe one of them has the most growth. This has right around a foot of growth on these, at least these three top ones. It's doing very well. A little damage from the rope that was around it. Well, not really. It's just kind of burnished. It's not going to harm the plant at all. You leave that cat alone or she will hurt you. Izzy! Izzy! Be nice to your sister, even though she's a different species. As you can see, we got the fencing completely done, and the women put the tops on and the rope. We had to get new rope, and they also put the connectors for a lower rope because we have Frankie who could just walk right under this. She's so little. They're gonna put this lower rope on, I don't know, maybe today, but it's gonna, like I said, it's gonna be in the, oh, maybe I didn't say that, it's gonna be in the 90s today. So who knows what can be done. We got to get stuff done early in the morning. It's a little after 6 now, or it was a little after 6 when I got up. Not sure what it is now. It's probably about 7. So I'm going to take that walk and show you all the different things before it gets way too hot. Second tree. Doing nice. It's like every one of these trees has a different look to it. Well, I guess I say that, and then these three all look fairly similar. Yeah, I'm going to have to water today because even though it rained a couple days ago, it rained like 1/8 of an inch, and things are going to be really dried and parched soon. This is one of them sickly trees, this one and the one after the next. I'm going to order replacements for these. I don't think they're going to make it. I'm going to order replacements for these. I'm going to order 6-footers. You have to order them in advance. So if they do make a comeback, I'll use the plant somewhere else. There's a couple spots right across from the house that could use trees. I have 37 of the bur oaks planted now, but I really don't know how many of the ones I planted this year are going to make it. They were pretty tiny. So these are all doing fairly well except for these two. Horses are not even starting to bite down the pasture yet. They have a long ways to go on this. We have a passageway down into the woods under that big walnut for them to get out of the sun today. Hopefully they're using it. It's kind of steep, but horses really don't care about that. I don't know, maybe these will make it, but I've seen a couple dead planted oak trees in the area, not ours, but somebody else planted some oak trees and they had the same thing where it died back and then sprouted lower. So I'm not sure what's going on. And this right here, don't know what's causing that. Hopefully that won't continue. And I don't know if I'll go into the field, but you could see these two are a good deal bigger than all the other ones. I chose the two biggest ones to put in there to block the view of the new neighbors there. Yeah, this one's doing great. Yeah, there's something skeletonizing it. So I might have to spray these. You really don't want it skeletonized on the very top, because if they bite that apical meristem, then it can't grow up anymore and has to grow out. And these need to grow a good deal higher. And we have tunneling here. At least it's not the woodchuck. The woodchuck lives right there, and he had a big tunnel running alongside this. I caved it in right near the tree, but we have a ground squirrel or chipmunk, whatever it is, living here. Hopefully it didn't do any damage to the roots. Should probably just cave it in, and hopefully he'll move it somewhere else. Okay, just, I don't know, was it a year ago? The end of our yard came right like this, but it came from over here. This whole area in here was blackberry brambles, small trees. It was just a jungle. This is probably the most dense jungle of garbage on our entire property. And now it's looking pretty nice. This is eventually a small road is going to come right between this tree and that tree, right this way, and go over to this pasture, and then come right through here. Those trees are all hacked and squirted, so they're dead. Two of them still need a little bit more hack, and a couple over here still need a bit more hack, but you could see most of the stuff is either dead or dying, except for, where are they? This big one right here, that's a black oak, that's staying, and there's one over there staying. And then Bigfoot's right back there. So there's going to be a road that goes down and to the back. My wood shop is going to go where the greenhouse is, and the greenhouse is going to go over in this area here at a future date. It's not going to happen this summer. So this area, I spot killed all the weed grasses. There's still some growing here and there. I'll probably hand pull those, but I'm going to get the last. I have just a few more grasses to plant, but something always gets in the way. But I'm going to get those in these dead spots, and I'll have to water them now because it's going to be getting too hot real soon. Yeah, I think these are going to do really well this year, but hopefully they don't get some disease. This is the third clematis. The other two were transplanted along the front. This area looks pretty junky, but there's plans for it this summer. This door right here is going to replace those two doors, and I'm going to have a permanent opening for the air conditioner. And then we just use this for guests right now. Here's the tree Natalie pruned. Doing beautiful. Yeah, so when we prune it again, we got all this extra length coming out horizontally, which is what we wanted. This one goes out and then continues out. And as it goes up, we'll probably take one of these and continue it out again. And at some point, this lower branch, possibly next year, but it's like half of the tree. So hopefully this grows up and we don't have to take that lower branch out. But if need be, we will. And we'll get to a point where we can drive the lawnmower right underneath here, and then just pick at, you know, this level right here. It's got a whole lot of apples on it. It's doing very well. It's been sprayed twice and will be sprayed a couple more times. Natalie's cornucopia, also doing very well. I'm going to be watering as soon as I'm done with this video. We've slowly been watering and trying to get the roots to come down into the ground down here. And then once these plants get bigger, they'll shade the ground so it doesn't dry out so much. But everything's doing pretty good in here. Yeah, it's pretty nice. All right, cherry tree. I really pruned that one heavy, and it's doing pretty good. We never get any cherries off of it because the raccoons steal them, so hopefully this year we'll be able to get some cherries off of it. The lupines are in bloom. This is the lone lupine over here. I'm going to keep a path from the greenhouse to come up and go this way. This side is getting planted in flowers as soon as we receive the seeds. The COVID lockdown, the company we bought the seed from decided to go with the governor's recommendation, and they didn't even open up until a day or so ago. So it's way late to be planting this stuff. It's going to have to be watered every day, but it is what it is. This is all going to be wildflowers right here, at least for this year. And this is where I planted grass. This used to be gardens too, and it was a tangle of weeds at one time because we had the container at an angle right here, and it was impossible to get back here. That was like 4 years ago. The container was right here. That container, which is now a hay mow. But I planted the same grass that's back there. The perennial rye is planted here. So if I keep the weeds down for a couple of years, this will just be big tufts of grass, and it'll look pretty nice with not too much maintenance. The greenhouse, which is a mess from all the planting and stuff, is getting cleaned up probably tonight, but maybe tomorrow morning while it's nice and cool. And we're going to put insulation. We have insulation ordered for the addition. I'll be making some videos on that too. The insulation's got to go in there when it comes. So we got to get the rest of the stuff in the ground, but I don't think it's going to happen today because of the heat. It's possible though. The Honeycrisp, which was injured severely when it was first planted, it got sun scald over the winter, and then I battled cedar apple rust for a couple of years. It's now doing fantastic. Last year it got giant apples. This year I think I'm going to have to thin the apples out as they grow because they are everywhere. I mean, look at all those apples. I don't know how many that eat. That's like a dozen apples right in that spot. So I'll have to thin these out a bit. We don't want piles of small apples. We want several big apples. That thing, I believe it's a hydrangea, and I don't know much about it, so I'm not going to talk about it. Hi, kitty. This is going to be hard to see with the low angle of light, but about, I don't know what percentage. I would call it maybe 80% of the purple love grass is going to make it. The ones right along the road, a good deal of them died, but you can see wherever the tags are, that one's not doing that well. But I don't know, maybe 70% is going to make it, but that's still a massive amount, and these things produce a lot of seed. So this is just going to be fantastic looking in the fall, or actually right around August when this goes to seed, it has all these tiny little red flowers, and it's like a mist of flowers. So this is going to look really cool later in the year. Another plant, I really don't know what it is. I'll have to get the name on this again. But that's doing pretty well. We planted this last year. And then we have our lilacs. These 3 common lilacs were the last plants at the store last year at Walmart. And Cindy bought them. And they had downy mildew. They were just in horrible shape, near death. So I sprayed them with 2 different fungicides. One was systemic, one not, to kill all the fungus. Then I sprayed them with wilt stop to keep their moisture because they were really dehydrated. And then I planted them, and they did okay the rest of the year last year, but now they're doing just fantastic. I don't know how big the growth is here. It looks like it's about 8 inches or so. After this year, these are going to just take off, like these lilacs here. That big lilac there is about 9 feet tall, and that was much smaller than these when it was planted, I would say 5 years ago. It was just a little twig. It was the people who owned this land gave it to us, and they brought it in a bag, and I didn't plant it for like 2 weeks. It stayed in that bag. Then I planted it in the ditch here. Then I dug it up and planted it over here a year later. So it was kind of abused, and look at how big that thing is now. Now we have to take it out again once we build my shop there, but small price to pay for a place to build my stuff. All right, let's look at the ditch gardens now. It's already getting warm out, so it's kind of nice to be in the shade. This stuff was planted at the very beginning of these gardens and has just multiplied. I think there was 3 bulbs, and you could see it's 2 different varieties of lilies. I don't even know if I want to keep these or not. They get massive, but they're white, and they're just not that good looking. They're awful healthy, but just not that good looking. And I'm trying to get this to be a native garden, and the lilies and the irises just don't fit, but I don't know. And the lupine, but my wife loves the lupine, so I guess I'm going to leave this area alone. But these might be swapped out for something else. If anything, I'll put this is a different cat from the one you've seen before. This one loves to play with the dog. The dog can get his whole head in her mouth, and he just does that. He just puts his paws up. He doesn't mind it. They just like playing with each other. One of the other cats likes playing with the dog too, but not quite as much as this. But the one we started with cannot stand the dog, and the dog can't tell the difference between them. All right, here's my June grass, and it looks like it's starting to go to bloom, at least on that one. I'm going to collect, this one too. I'm going to collect seeds from this, and this is going to continue on down. We'll see how well it does. It says it does not like clay at all, and pretty much all of our soil is clay at some depth. It likes sand and gravel. That's why it's planted here. Some of these look pretty good, but I just don't know. I wish I would have burned the stuff from last year so I could tell exactly how it's doing, but I don't know. I think it's going to make it, and I'll get some seed and continue it on down. I don't know where the pink lupine came from, but it's pretty cool. My prairie drop seeds, some of them are making it. Some better than others, and some, like that one, seem to be drying out. I expect to lose maybe half of the prairie drop seed, but maybe not. Cat's hiding from the dog in there. I mean, these definitely got bigger than when they were planted, less than a week ago. Like that one's a good deal bigger. This is the little blue stem, which is way bigger than when it was planted. I think that was 2 weeks ago. Maybe a little more. I'm not sure, I'd have to look back. But yeah, this prairie drop seed is so fussy. If you let it dry out at all, when it's young like this, it has such tender roots, it'll just die if you don't water it until it's established. So I water this a couple times a day in the heat. Yeah, that's doing really well. That's one right there. Yeah, I think a lot of this is going to make it, but there's one that did not make it. So a little bit later in the year, these coneflowers and other native flowers are going to get massive. So I'm going to have to go in and hedge them if they're blocking out too much light from the grasses. At some point, they're going to have to live with each other. And if worse comes to worse, I will thin the coneflowers because they reproduce like real easy, and these grasses do not. So watch out, kitty. That's a little blue stem from last year, and this is this year's stuff. This was completely in the shade of these plants last year. So hopefully this year, I mean, it gets 3 to 4 feet tall, so it'll probably get 4 feet tall to compete with this stuff, which is what I want. And we got some, this is all little blue stem. I'm gonna get in here and weed and water as soon as this video is done, before the sun gets too blazing. And again, we have purple love grass, and we have 1, 2, 3, probably 4 that are gonna die that are right along the edge. So next year I'm gonna come in and go down a little bit lower and replant those. I don't know where I left off, but the township just went by. So on this side, we got 2 of the prairie drop seed that are doing really well, and then some little blue stem. One of them's doing really well. The other ones are doing okay. Not sure if they'll make it or not, but that's fine. I'll replant again next year. I mean, some of these get quite big, so they may do well by themselves. Again, with the prairie drop seed in the front, that one's doing pretty good. This is the purple love grass, and again, the ones up at the edge, especially right in towards the road here, that one looks like it's going to die. That one did die, but some of them are doing just fine. Oh well. And then on down the road, it gets to be mostly prairie drop seed, which is, these are all doing fairly well. Hopefully they all make it. I stepped on this one a bunch of times. I hope it makes it. Oh, I was just about stepping on that one. Now watch what I'm doing. This one is nearly dead. They call prairie drop seed the king of the prairie grasses. It's very tough once it gets started, but really hard to get started. Dog footprint right next to this dead one. That's not what killed it though. But I do need to get in here and weed today. It's going to be a pretty good job. That is a really nice prairie drop seed. Yeah, some of them are doing really well. Looks like they're going to make it. Pale purple coneflower, that's an endangered species, and it looks like it's got a little problem here, but for the most part it looks okay, and it is getting ready to flower. I planted those last year. I probably shouldn't have planted any non-grasses yet, but it is what it is. And we have the prairie drop seed along the front, and this is purple lovegrass here, prairie drop seed over there, prairie drop seed in amongst this side oats grama, purple lovegrass again, a patch of it at the end of the grama, and one within it. So this should look pretty interesting. I can't wait to see what this looks like in the fall. But it'll look way better next year, just like these do. These are second-year plants, and these are second-year plants. The cats really seem to like chewing on them, which I wish wasn't so. Yeah, I have 2 cats and a dog with me. Yeah, this is unfortunate. That one's dying. That probably will. And that one looks okay. I wanted to get a nice bunch of grass right here at the edge of this bridge, but looks like it's not going to happen this year. And then this is all the third-year grasses. There's more of that pale purple coneflower right in there. Show you that closer up. It's a weird-looking plant, so maybe that one over there wasn't sickly. It just kind of flops around. That's one there as well. This stuff is all third-year, little blue stem, but there's big blue stem and Indian grass mixed in with it. And then along the front, like, it's kind of hard to tell right now, but some of this stuff right here is different grasses. I believe that's big blue stem right there. That might be big blue stem right there as well. It'll be interesting to see what this does this summer. And it turns out I have a little bit of June grass in here. I believe there was another one down there. It's nice to be able to identify this stuff during the growing season. That is definitely June grass right there. So I don't know if I'll collect seeds from that or if I'll let it reseed itself. I probably will get the seeds and kind of toss them here and there. This big beast, I believe it's big blue stem, but it could be a weed. But now I can identify this stuff as soon as it goes to seed. If it's weed, I will take it out and something else will get planted there. It kind of looks like this one and this one are both big blue stem, but I know there was some like scattered inside the main grass area as well, so maybe not, because there would be some that look like this in there, and I don't see any. Again, once we get down into this area, I don't know what these tall ones are, and I'm really going to have to identify some of this stuff because some of this down here is going to be weed grasses, like the one that has seeds right there. I have no idea what that is, but it's probably a fescue or something. So eventually I'll take that out and replace it with a native grass.